KRILLIN, the human hero, the Saiyan Slicer, the Tyrant Tail Remover, the Gynoid Goddess Inseminator. KRILLIN is the strongest human to ever live. His only mistake was not being the main character in a series famous for completely broken power jumps. Of course, every series is going to focus its main character. Dragon Ball is the Goku show, after all. However, KRILLIN has endured so much unwarranted disrespect by the writers and the Dragon Ball fandom alike. And it's time for us KRILLIN fans to speak up and point out why KRILLIN is an absolute beast. For all of the original Dragon Ball, KRILLIN was handled fairly well. He was introduced as a rival student to Goku under the tutelage of Master Roshi, and while he was always the silver medal of the Turtle School, he always kept pace, and was always striving to better himself as a martial artist. Even when KRILLIN lost fights, his opponents never won easily, and even Piccolo Jr. had to throw some respect on KRILLIN's name at the 23rd Tenkaichi Budokai. When the son/reincarnation of the Demon King is paying you respect, you know you've done something right. It's really only next to Goku and whatever big bad is heading the arc that KRILLIN seems weak, but that's like saying that a guy who deadlifts 700 pounds is weak because the record deadlift is over 1,000. It wasn't until Namek in Z when KRILLIN really began to be marginalized as a fighter. Many people view KRILLIN being one-shotted by Raditz's tail as a sign of how weak he is, but nothing could be further from the truth. Raditz is a character that at the time completely eclipsed both Goku and Piccolo. Raditz was so powerful, it took both Goku and Piccolo working together to even have a remote chance of fighting him, and technically considering it was a rage-boosted Gohan landing a critical hit, which was really the thing that turned the tide of battle, so technically it was a 3v1 and still ended with Goku dead. KRILLIN's potential for growth is really put on display later in the Saiyan saga. The Cybermen are revealed to have a power level equivalent to Raditz, and KRILLIN, enraged by Yamcha's death, fires off his scatter bullet attack, which killed 3 Cybermen, all of which were Raditz level, and he had enough to spare for a shot on Vegeta and Nappa, which means that in the year after Raditz appeared and dominated the strongest characters in the series at the time, KRILLIN became strong enough to destroy him 3 times over in a single attack. Sure, Nappa was essentially playing with KRILLIN, Gohan, and Piccolo, but at the time, Nappa was the right-hand man of the strongest Saiyan warrior to ever live. Except Broly, of course. Even then, KRILLIN is shown to possess incredible chi manipulation in the form of the Kienzan, which creates a circular saw blade of hyper-dense chi, capable of cutting through exponentially more powerful opponents. Without Vegeta's warning, Nappa would have been looking more like Louis XVI. Now, Namek is where KRILLIN began being pushed far out of the limelight for characters like Vegeta, Piccolo, and Goku, but At the time, not only did he courageously choose to travel across the universe to an unknown planet on a quest to revive his friends, but even when things really started going south with the presence of the Frieza Force, Vegeta, and the arrival of the Ginyu Force, who, even the weakest among them, could have fodderized Saiyan Saga Vegeta, Krillin stood his ground and fought honorably against hopeless odds and certain death to hold out until Goku arrived. Krillin's role was becoming less about being a top-tier warrior so much as being more to push the plot further for more powerful characters. That being said, during the Frieza fight is where we get one of Krillin's most jaw-dropping feats, where he absolutely mutilated Second Form Frieza with the Kienzan. Second Form Frieza had a power level that clocked in at over 1 million, and Krillin theoretically could have ended the Frieza saga then and there, but of course, Dragon Ball is the Goku show, so the writing nerfed Krillin's intelligence so Goku could shine. Krillin also used the Taioken on Frieza, and he was completely susceptible to it. Add in the fact that Frieza can't sense chi, and all it would take would be a combo Taioken Kienzan, and Frieza would have been looking less like that and more like this. Unfortunately, Toriyama wanted Krillin to be a human sacrifice on the Super Saiyan altar. The Android Saga was when Krillin's status as a fighter became more of a grandfathered-in title than an actual role. But that being said, Krillin was still playing a fairly significant role in the story, and even displayed a great level of courage throughout this whole section of the story. Not only did he actually show up when Frieza and King Cold arrived, knowing full well that they were leagues beyond anyone there, but even after being warned about the androids by future Trunks, he was with the main cast every step of the way. And though it may have been filler, he did survive an encounter with First Form Cell. And, of course, we can't overlook his most admirable accomplishment, drawing the eye of his beautiful Bay-teen. Krillin, when faced with the choice between blowing up 18 and saving the world, or letting his goddess live and potentially dooming all life on Earth, I think we can all agree he made the right choice. And there is also an event which I feel is very understated. After Cell first achieves his perfect form, Krillin decides to take his chance and attack Cell, launching a Kienzan that hits Cell directly on the nape of the neck, only to dissipate with no real effect at all. And some fans would look at this as a show of how weak Krillin is, but it's quite the opposite. Narratively speaking, this is used to show how hopelessly and terrifyingly powerful the new perfect form of Cell is. Perfect Cell was so incredibly powerful that even the Kienzan, which cut through Frieza like a hot knife through butter, had absolutely no effect. It doesn't put down Krillin, but rather uses Krillin's incredible technique to gauge the power and set the stage, letting the audience know that the final boss of the arc is truly here. Let's also not forget that while being overwhelmed, Krillin still fought with great courage against the Cell Juniors. It was the Majin Buu arc where Krillin's status was almost fully relegated to a background character with relatively little involvement in the story. The Krillin era was essentially over, and to be honest, if I had this waiting for me at home, I'd probably cut my time at the gym down too. Krillin was a family man first and foremost, and sure, he still was the most powerful human, but in a world full of Super Saiyans, Super Namekians, fusion characters, and magical monsters of pure evil incarnate, there just wasn't much room left in the story for the humans. That being said, I certainly don't feel sorry for Krillin, because at this point he's just living his best life, enjoying spending his days with his wife and daughter with little care for combat. Until, well, now we have to talk about Dragon Ball Super. Dragon Ball GT is like the hard-working, red-headed stepchild of the series, but Super is like the lazy, ungrateful, spoiled youngest child that gets all the undeserved attention that would be better spent on the other kids. Super's treatment of Krillin's character was dismal. The once proud warrior was reduced to an absolute beta male with a severe inadequacy complex. GT also retired Krillin from fighting, but they did it differently. They made him completely content and happy, going all in on family life, which is a much better way, in my opinion, to end Krillin's character arc. Super tried to incorporate Krillin into itself with undeserved, absurd power jumps, which are typical for Super, but it came off as too little too late. Super treated Krillin like an alcoholic father who beats you and then buys you an Xbox to make up for it. But the damage was done. All in all, Krillin lived an incredible life as an incredible character. And while not canon, I see GT Krillin as the true ending to his story, with one final sparring match with his best friend and fellow student Goku, before living out the remainder of his human life with a family that treasures him. And that, dear viewer, is why Krillin will always have a special place in my heart. Thank you for watching.